let's talk about The Last of Us Part 1. Part 2 is out right now. It dropped last night as I'm recording this. I have not finished Part 1. This is like a first look experience of Part 1, so anyone watching this video, I did not intentionally mislead you. This is not a Last of Us Part 2 review. This is a Part 1 first experience review. This is part of my Patreon review series. This is for the great and powerful John Goetz, who is getting me to try all sorts of new stuff. He's got me watching anime, he's got me playing video games. Now, normally this category is for movies and TV shows, and I happened to have The Last of Us given to me for a birthday, so this worked out perfect that John wanted my thoughts, so I was able to dedicate a bunch of hours to playing it, much like I dedicate hours to TV or movies. It was fun because I usually try to be 2 to 2.5 hours to contain my review, right? So with a movie, that's the average runtime of I want to give it some wiggle. Obviously, Disney movies are like 90 minutes, but I want to give like a good 2.5 hours. But just like with John Goetz asking me to watch My Hero Academia, I got addicted and I watched like 3.5 hours before I reviewed any of it. And the same with this game. This might be the single best non-fandom game experience I've ever had. Let me back that up because that's not fair to childhood. When I was a kid, like, obviously I loved Sonic, I loved Streets of Rage, I loved Primal Fear, and then earlier than that, I loved old school Sega Genesis Sonic, I loved Mario Party, all those things before I really got into fandoms. But when I was a kid, video games were different than Twisted Metal Black. But as an adult, this is, I think, my favorite video game experience that has nothing to do with fandom. Now, I need to say that clearly because I bought a PS4 just for the Spider-Man game, and I'm just now playing other PS4 games as PS5 looms. So to be honest, the Spider-Man game on PS4 changed my entire world. But that is, I can't possibly know how much of that is because I love Spider-Man and how much I love the game. Those two things combined. My buddy Yuri plays Spider-Man. There's so many pieces to that experience that I can't judge it fairly. To me, that game is an A+, but I can't fairly say, ooh, A+, 10 out of 10, because I'm too biased. I knew nothing about this game. I knew nothing about this world. I don't know Naughty Dog. I don't know anyone that worked in this game. It's 7 years old. This is an A+ so far, with nothing on it. I am enamored. I am in love. This is changing storytelling for me. This game is changing the way I see interactive media. This game is affecting how I see animation, much like Spider-Verse did. Into the Spider-Verse affected how I see animation. This is changing how I see animation in that the uncanny valley of video games is always tricky. Obviously, it's infinitely better with the PS4 than the PS2 that I left behind. That was the last system I played was PS2. So coming into PS4, Spider-Man, a 2018 game, was like mind-blowing in its graphics. This 2013 game has a little more edges to it. It's 5 years older. It only took me about 10 minutes to adjust to the visuals because they're so incredible. And I like the photorealism of the visuals having a little bit of grain to it because it almost feels like a classic pulpy zombie film. It almost feels like an intentionally warped image, and I think it's a lot like Silent Hill. You know, they added the mist and those elements to let rendering happen. I don't think there's a weakness in this game with like letting rendering happen, but I do think the style of visual storytelling adds to the game in a really wonderful way. So within 10 minutes, this visual narrative, this visual style of storytelling, I was all in. I love the animation of their faces. I love the focus on creasing. I love the beautiful use of hair, like especially facial hair to tell story. His aging, I didn't expect. We'll get to story elements in just a moment, but every character you meet, their physicality tells you a lot about them, and that is beautiful rendering of graphics. These are all ones and zeros, and within seconds, I'm invested in a character because of how they look, and then the voice actor gets to tell me more, and then their actions within the game let to tell me more even beyond those things. I love this game. Guys, whew. Okay, so, like, for example, Robert, who we meet a little ways in, his patchy beard made me, as someone with a patchy beard, I'm like, I don't trust him. Those just little details like the style of scruff versus, you know, the even scruff of our hero who's got his, you know, Logan vibe, his broken, his weathered, his having seen too much. Once again, we're going to the story in just a moment, but the visual cues like that, how endeared we were to the leader of the Fireflies instantly. The way she acted, her maternal yet strict, somewhat harsh nature. You'd have to be in that world, but you instantly wanted to trust her, even though everything we'd heard about the Fireflies meant we shouldn't. Loved that. Let's get to the story. It opens, and I didn't expect the death of his daughter. Spoilers for a game from 7 years ago. I should say spoilers before I say the spoilers, but here we are. It's the opening of the game. I was unprepared for that. So we're immediately drawn into a narrative that feels like a movie. We're immediately captivated by this family element. We love the characters right away. Great use of birthday charm. Great use of familial elements. We're endeared to this family unit. And then immediately we are in a zombie film, but a smart one. This is a zombie game, much the way that 28 Days Later is a zombie movie. It's not in the traditional sense, but it's involving those elements. It's reinventing the genre. And it reinvented the genre in such a great way for me because I'm so much more invested in these zombies. I'm so much more invested in this world than most any other zombie narrative I've seen. Because this is the closest I've ever felt to playing a movie. It's like Final Fantasy level cutscenes. When I was a kid, Final Fantasy was my shit. But it feels like you're actively causing so much more of the narrative function. It's not like the cutscenes are just action fighting. It's like we're watching and playing in a movie, and it helps that the graphics are better. It helps that, you know, the storytelling is so good. This thing's written so well. So we lose his daughter, which was actually heartbreaking. I could not believe that happened. I love the brother. I love the entire sequence in the car, because that felt like a horror movie meets haunted house. Like when you're in a haunted house and you're kind of like constructed to where you can go, and you're kind of like adjusted to look certain ways, like things draw your attention. That element is so prevalent in the car chase, and like the R2, I think it is, function where you kind of like push in to see a little clearer. All of the cacophony of sound and sights for that whole car chase builds this amazing world. I don't know yet what happened to Robert, so we leave the younger storyline where he's just lost his daughter, and then it says summer. And I'm like, shit, we're jumping ahead some months. And then it says 20 years later. Your boy lost his mind. I was unprepared. I'm so glad I knew nothing about this game. This is such a cool experience. It's 7 years old, and I get to experience this brand freaking new. And by the time I beat it, it's going to take me a long time. I'm bad at games. By the time I beat it, the new one will be cheaper. I can pick that up for like Black Friday 2021. 2022, who knows? I'm gonna get it later. So we jump ahead to the future, 20 years in the future, and he's weathered, he's gray, he's lived through this stuff. He's in Boston, the best city in the world, and basically, I think like the wharf and everything is Boston. Yeah, he's in, I think I'm assuming the whole game takes place in Boston. Where I am right now in there is Boston. He's got a map to Boston, and he's on docks that look like Boston. I'm gonna assume we're in Boston. I love the other female lead. I'm bad at names. I don't remember her name, but the character is instantly a boss. You meet her, and I kept noticing a funny narrative structure element where I kept following her, but I'm supposed to be leading. But I'm like, I trust this lady. I'm gonna follow her wherever she goes. And it's like, oh, it's a game. I gotta drive. I gotta take charge. Okay, hold on, let me get in front. And it was really funny because I was just like, this lady's in charge. She knows what she's doing. And it was a really funny element of gameplay where I was like, no, I just met her. She's great. Oh, no, it's a game. And then we go through a lot of trials and tribulations. I love the use of sound in particular. When a character's talking and you go into another room, you get distorted just like in the real world. I love that you use sound like Daredevil and you echolocate to where danger is and you listen ahead. I love the use of crouching, much like Metal Gear Solid. There's so much Metal Gear Solid in this game. For me, I'm sure that's more common, but that's my litmus test. The Metal Gear Solid elements to this, absolutely insane. The sneaking around, the use of weapons. I love the use of different things like bricks and bottles and guns. I'm not big on shoot 'em ups. It's not my cup of tea. I love how I don't do well with those, but this game is guiding me. I'm playing on easy because this is the second game I've played in 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. I haven't gamed, so I'm not good at it. Like my hand-eye coordination isn't built that way right now. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I might get back into gaming. This is really fucking selling me. But I love that it's not intuitive. It is so intuitive that even though my brain isn't wired for it, I can find my way to being good at the shooting and stuff. I'm always really bad at that when I go to a friend's house and I'm like, what's going on? It's very, it works for novices, especially in easy mode. I also love the physics of the brick throwing and the bottle throwing. I love the different ways you can attack. You can sneak up, you can strangle, you can shoot, and that affects the way the game goes forward. I know that's a very common thing in games. It's new to me. It's very exciting. It's executed perfectly here. I really enjoy the fact that it takes a minute to patch yourself back up. It's not like Zinzubin. It actually takes like rapping, and that makes another element to planning out your attack. I like that you have different amounts of things you can keep on you. Again, very common game trope, but executed very well here. I, once again, love the 1-2 punch of these two lead characters. I really like that we don't know who to trust. I couldn't believe the amount of murder that happened very quickly. We had to take those 3 guys out, which was a really smart way to train you on how to do things. This game doesn't have an opening that's like, and here is how to draw your weapon. Here is how to, like, it does it in the storyline. So you first meet 3 guys you got to take out using stealth and guns. Next time you got to take them out using bottles, and it evolves as you go along. You learn how to use tools and things around you. It's a very, everything around you matters in a really cool way. Like when he had to use, you know, some logic to charge the thing for the elevator, you had to pump the you know, like the lawnmower. You had to land that triangle button just the right time, and it took a few tries to like build up the and then it starts, and then you can move the elevator. That sort of shit. I love puzzling gameplay. I love the fighting style in this gameplay. The fight choreography is incredible, and I like the versatility of it. I like the weaponry so far. I love the story. The writing is probably my favorite part because I really care about all these characters. So we keep moving along. We meet the head of the Fireflies. We then go to, you know, smuggle something out of the city, and then we meet our lead who's on the cover. Now, not knowing this game whatsoever, I assumed the girl on the cover was his daughter. We met this girl, and then holy shit, she died, and I'm like, who's the little girl on the cover? Of course, he cares about this new child that's so important, and I assumed she was, what's the word, immune to the virus, because why else would they be smuggling out this little girl? But it's such good writing, and such good acting, and such good like animation acting that I was still emotionally affected. I was going to say emotionally infected, zombie pun, emotionally infected by finding out she'd been bit and she's doing okay. And like, I was still there. They got me, even though I saw it coming. I love the paternal nature of our lead towards her. I love how much of a boss she is. I love how spunky she is. I love how capable she is, because she'd have to be. She's a 12, 15, whatever year old in this world. She's a kid in this world. And we're just so with her. Now, I know this game gets really sad. I know this game gets, like, I've heard the second game, everyone's, like, crying, and the trailers, boo. Oh, another thing, the tone of this game. Good golly, Miss Molly. The pause screen is emotional. The use of, like, old classic country guitar, and not folk, but not country, like, the soundscape of this game, the opening beautiful country window that just like serenely waves as you wait to this game to load. Like, good God, are they good at pulling at your heartstrings. Everything about this game affects you viscerally. Everything about this game affects you emotionally. And that is why it's so unique and special. Because when you watch an action movie and you're not invested in the characters, when they get hurt or killed, you don't give a fuck. If you're watching a good drama and something action happens, you're like, ah, action, because you're invested in the characters. The beautiful sweet spot is when you care about all the characters and you can have the insane action of these spectacles. That's why, you know, Civil War ranks so high, because you're so invested in Cap in that movie. That's why, you know, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, a lot of people like more than the Andrew Garfield one. You're so invested in Tom Holland. This turned into just comic book references. If you're on this channel, you probably expect that from me, but you gotta be John Wick. I like John Wick 1 more than 3 because I was more invested in the character of John Wick, and it wasn't so, the violence wasn't so gratuitous and big that I was checked out. It was just too much. John Wick 1, what happens to his dog, what happens to him, everything else, you're rooting for John Wick the man so much more. The third one, you've got the legacy, so you're rooting for him by like habit and because it's Keanu Reeves, and who doesn't love fucking Keanu Reeves? But like the first one, they build up the character so much more. For me, I like the first one so much better. So I really think it's important that when these characters are going through such horrible things, you really care about every action they take. So where I'm at in the game, I probably put like 6 hours in, and again, I'm not good at gaming. I don't know if this is 6 hours worth of gameplay, but I've met the girl that looks like Ellen Page. I have found out she is immune. We just got bombarded by cops, and she just took out one. Well, she stabbed one, and then we all shot. And now I'm doing some awesome Metal Gear Soliding, hiding from a helicopter spotlight. So that's where I am in the game. It took me like 5 or 6 hours to get there, which is probably, I should be embarrassed maybe. I don't know. That's just, I'm enjoying the hell out of playing it. I'm also taking my time to really learn the controls and explore the worlds. There was one level that you go into this tunnel and there's all these different rooms, and there's like 3 or 4 people you gotta listen to hear for. I enjoy just looking at all the rooms and looking if there was any clues and shit. I'm sure I could have just like walked through, but instead I was like, oh, shiny object. So I am loving the actual game itself. Now, usually the way these reviews work is I give 5 minutes up front of general thoughts, and then I go into my notes, but I couldn't take notes because I was playing the game. So instead I want to do a 15-minute rant, which is right where we are now, just overall mental notes that I wrote down and then dove into. So visuals, top notch. Sound design is probably my favorite thing about this game. Between the talking being affected by areas, the use of sound to hone in on stuff, the score and the music and everything about the soundscape is pitch perfect. The sound is probably my favorite thing. What else is a factor? Actual gameplay is very intuitive. It's very hands-on friendly, like just jumping into the game. I love the evolution of difficulty as you navigate learning the game. Acting couldn't be better. It's an A+. I'm in love with this game. I get why it won 200 awards in 2013, and I get why everyone's losing their mind for the sequel that came out this very week. I'm going to get into some trivia, and let's talk about the overall scope of the beast. Now, we know it came out with a sequel, so I'm not going to talk about the sequel because I haven't played it yet, and I don't want to know anything. I don't know who lives, who dies. I don't want to know. Now that I care, I'm avoiding everything. Like, anyone says Last of Us 2, I'm like, ah, da, 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 da. Before, people are going to talk about video games. I'm so fucking in. Okay, so this game got 4.8 out of 5 on Common Sense Media. Don't know what that is, but I do know what IGN is. 10 out of 10 on IGN.com. You're goddamn right, it is a 10 out of 10. Got a 96% Google user rating. This beast came out on June 14th, 2013. It is now one of those beastly bestsellers, so it's got a PlayStation Hits version of it. So it's $20 for the game on disc, but up until October, PlayStation is running an Outbreak sale because they get jokes. While the world's falling apart from a pandemic, sell some zombie games. There's an Outbreak sale where a lot of games are half off, and I saw this was one of the ones advertised, so this might be $10. I don't know. If you're watching this and haven't played the game, I'm sorry for spoiling the first a few hours, but it's on sale, so check that out. As far as ratings, it is the highest rated game on IMDb. I didn't know games were on IMDb until this game, because it is a movie database, but it plays like a movie, so it deserves it. It has a 9.7 out of 10 on IMDb, which is crazy. Movies never get that rating. This game deserves it. I cannot speak higher of this game. It is an absolute beast of love, and critic and fan love alike. Obviously the sequel is moving and grooving. There has been talk of a movie for quite some time. There is a 4-issue comic book miniseries called The Last of Us American Dreams, which is published by Dark Horse, April to July of 2013, which is very exciting, written by one of the writers of the game. They're also going to do a film adaptation from Screen Gems, which is apparently stalling. Oh no, sorry, canceled. That's why I didn't mention it. I took notes and then the show is happening, the movie is not. So they announced in March that a TV adaptation is beginning to come together at HBO. So the movie got scrapped recently. HBO is doing a show early stages. Once again, June 19th, today at midnight, last night, the sequel dropped. Those are all those fun little facts. Some of these trivia facts blew my mind, and I haven't gotten that deep in the game yet. The Infected were inspired by an episode of the BBC documentary Planet Earth that featured cordyceps. Now, I've heard of cordyceps. This shit is crazy. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but I've read that word before. It's a killer fungi that invades your shit, and it takes over your body and does limited functions. It's usually like insects and shit. Yeah. The infected ant will climb high and die in a position that allows the fungus's spores to travel further and reach another host. What the fuck? They die to allow for more fungi. They control your body to make... That's fucked up. So, loosely based off that, Ellie, who I think is the little girl... Jesus, she looks like Ellen Page. Her name's Ellie. says the word fuck more than any other character. She uses the word fuck 53 times. The word itself is said 143, so she accounts for over a third of the fucks used in the game. I knew that kid was going to be spunky. The game's scenery setting was partially influenced by Alan Wiseman's book The World Without Us, which is fantastic imagery. This game's post-apocalyptic flavor is top-notch. One of the reasons for the game's development was the creative director Neil Druckmann believed the storytelling as a whole had become lazy in the game industry and set out to create a rich narrative in The Last of Us. It is a movie you play. Thank you. Thank you, Neil Druckmann. I, seriously am considering getting back into gaming because of this game. So, John Goetz, the man who is making me invest in anime again. I'm so excited by Dragon Ball again. I've always been a Vegeta man, but after he had me watch Super Broly, I'm like, man, do I need to carve out 80 hours and watch some Dragon Ball Super? Probably, when I catch up in the world. And now he's having me watch My Hero Academia, and I'm very excited for Season 2 whenever we get to that, because there's no time in the day, but I'm going to make fucking time. So, thank you for getting me back into anime. And now, gaming, man. I need a 28th hour in the day. I need more. Who sleeps? I get the gaming addiction. This game is changing me. All right, oh, that's funny. In the early games and early designs, Ellie bore an extremely close resemblance to Ellen Page, who coincidentally was starring in another video game, Beyond Two Souls. Ellie was later redesigned to accurately portray her age and the voiceover actress Ashley Johnson. Page later said that she didn't appreciate her likeness being ripped off. Maybe I remember that, because I was thinking she looked like Ellen Page, and maybe that's a memory of the lawsuit or something, because that sounds really familiar. Or maybe I'm thinking of the other game. I don't know, but she looks like Ellen Page. Her name's Ellie. According to the Japanese game manual, Joel and Sarah's last name is Miller. Fun fact. And then I want to make sure I don't get to any spoilers, so I'm not going to read any more. Those are just opening game spoilers. I'm going to keep playing this game, so maybe I'll do another one of these. I don't know how long it'll take me to beat it. I don't know, dear audience, is where I am now a good spot for 5 to 6 hours? I'm hiding helicopters. I don't know. I'm loving the game. John Goetz, thank you for getting me back into anime and back into gaming. This is truly my 2002's best self. In 2002 is when I was playing PS2 all the goddamn time. 2002 and earlier, I was an addict to video games, and back in the Toonami days, I think it was probably in the 2000 to 2006 range was my peak Dragon Ball Z, so it is good to relive those days, but with upgrades, super improvement of animation, this game's improvement of technology. It's so cool to be back in my early 20s roots, in my early 30s. That math doesn't add up. When I was a teenager in the 2000s, and now my early 30s roots. My early 20s is when I missed out on all this stuff. So it's great to be back to something that used to make me really happy, and right now we need happiness more than ever. So as alarming as it is to play a game that involves quarantine, that involves police and military keeping you in lockdown, and as alarming as it is to involve a game about The Last of Us when I'm worried about the world ending, it's been really great escapism. So for what it's worth, the game is so well written that it feels like escape, even though it is freaking close to life and terrifyingly so. So this is an A+. I love this game. It is early days yet. I have made time. I actually canceled. So obviously we're in quarantine, but I'm doing a lot of streams. I canceled a stream to play the game. So there is no higher grade than that. I canceled plans to play more of The Last of Us before doing this review, and that is I don't do that. So John, I love it. Thank you very much for encouraging this decision and where my time is going. I'll be playing more of it this weekend. I just wanted to make sure I got this review out to you ASAP. Thank you very much. A+, The Last of Us. If you haven't played it, check out the sale. If you have played it, play it again. If you're playing The Last of Us 2, I'm jealous, but I'm going to keep playing this one. All right, until next time, guys, much love. Stay safe. Stay sane. Don't get infected. And, The Last of Us is great. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.